What motivated you to create this?
The way I look at food business, if anybody wants to get into food business, is like there's three parts of it, right? One is R&D and creation. The other one is the manufacturing. Third and the most difficult one is the branding and distribution. I think artificial intelligence is like having Einstein in your basement and not using it.
How did you sign MS Dhoni as brand ambassador?
Well, why? That's actually a good question. There's something I want to show you guys. So he says, discipline yourself and the others won't have to. The best way to improve your team is to improve yourself. Do not mistake activity for achievement. It's amazing how much we can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. Think about that.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I think I'm proud of is don't live your life in regret.
Hello and welcome to the Millionaires podcast, where we interact with people who've changed a million lives.
In this episode, we have Sandeep Devgan, CEO of Stonefield Flavours and co-founder of Shaka.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We've been going back and forth for like months now. And yeah, it's great to have you here.
So
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for having me. First, I want to say it's super cool that you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
When I was a sophomore in high school, I don't remember what I was doing. Definitely not this. This is super cool. Kudos to you both. So wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's start with you introducing yourself.
Just a brief introduction.
Yeah, well, I'll try to be brief. Basically, my name is Sandeep Devgan. Originally from Punjab. I was at the age of 10. I moved to the U.S. to L.A. And lived there for my entire life till 2013.
Okay.
Decided to become an entrepreneur and been in the Silicon Valley of Asia for the last 10 years.
Okay. So Bangalore.
Bangalore, yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there. So I'll tell you the whole story shortly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about your first entrepreneurial venture, Stonefield Flavours. But before that, I wanted to ask you, what were you interested in entrepreneurship? Why did you choose to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I have to tell you the whole story to kind of answer that question, right? So I'm a first-gen entrepreneur. There's no entrepreneurs in my family. I was basically like from my generation, right? So especially being a first-gen immigrant, the idea was that you get good grades, get to good college,
Yeah.
then you choose one of the sciences, either engineering, medical, or whatever else, right? So I didn't do any of that. I did, I got it, I guess I did. So I was supposed to be an engineer, but I ended up doing mathematics.
Yeah.
And then got into finance.
Okay.
2000s, that were like good times, right?
Okay.
So worked in finance. Basically, I was an analyst on the Wall Street.
Okay.
And but working in California, in Pasadena.
In Pasadena, yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of working the West Coast East Coast hours and West Coast, and it was like West Coast weather, best of all worlds. I had a uncle, my mom's brother, who basically always said like, you got to be an entrepreneur, right?
Okay.
He's like, you're basically useless unless you're an entrepreneur. So they kept telling me that like when I was a kid. Something very different from my parents' expectations of me,
Okay.
right? Their whole thing was like, just get to a good college, get a good job, move to the suburbs, have a family, and kind of have that white picket fence life,
Okay.
right? So that didn't really work out. So when I went through the whole financial turmoil, up and down. Somehow managed to keep my job throughout that, and since I was younger, so kind of got promoted along the way, and got I saw my life a little like what it would look like, right? So I looked at one of my bosses, and he was the first guy in, last guy out. Had like 3 children.
Yeah.
and I'm like, do I want to be this guy? You make good money, but you just seem pretty miserable,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So, and then you always have to be at mercy of somebody else who's like, well, this, I saw a lot of guys who were working with me lose their jobs because of the financial crisis,
Yeah.
right? I mean, imagine coming to work one day and you're just, there's bouncers outside because they need to, people are getting fired, right? So,
Okay.
so when you see all that, you're like, I want to be in control of my life, right?
Yeah.
Even if that means making less money or taking a risk, right? So, uh, I married a girl from Andhra, so
Okay.
she's actually from LA. We met at a bar in Hollywood, but we were just when we decided to get married, we were getting married in Bangalore, right?
Oh,
So I came here to kind of to attend my own marriage, but before that I took a week off. I came a week earlier, and I enrolled myself in startup boot camp,
okay.
Okay.
and I decided to kind of understand what startup life in Bangalore was like. Met a lot of cool
Okay.
people, and people like yourself actually, right? Who were
Okay.
just like
Yeah.
uh, young guys, a lot of energy. They wanted to do something to change the world. Um, I went back to my job. I just couldn't settle down.
Okay.
I was just super restless.
Yeah.
Every Monday morning, I get on the freeway. Like,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
I got to do this again, right?
Yeah.
So somehow I convinced my wife that, look, I know you just married me, but I want to go and try this out in Bangalore.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's like, yeah, I don't think that was my plan.
Hmm.
Her plan was to be in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Her career was on a different trajectory.
Hmm.
She has just finished her second master's at LSE and come back, and she was ready for that corporate track,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So well, thanks to her, right? I mean, I moved. She said, look, let's give this a chance. I don't want you to be 50 years old and think, what if,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what if this would have worked?
Yeah.
What if I did this,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to live a life in regret.
Okay.
So then came the second task of convincing my parents that, okay, I'm going to move to India. And I've never, like me, I've lived in India, but I was a young kid, like 10 years
Yeah.
old, right? So they're like, well, I don't think you're going to survive there, right? They're like, everyone's like, we'll give this guy 2 years, he'll be back here,
Okay.
right? So they really couldn't stop me at that point. I made my mind. So so moved to Bangalore, and that's how my entrepreneurial journey started in Bangalore in uh, end of 2013. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Chai point, right?
Shy Point. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how I started, right? And then then there's looking back, right? So now I'm working on my fourth venture, Shaka.
Fourth venture.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
so, but there's a lot of learning, a lot of things what not to do. So hopefully I'll get to share that with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does Stonefield Flavors actually do?
So Stonefield kind of came a little later in my entrepreneurial journey, but I'll tell you what it does. So basically, uh, it's um, it's basically a company that makes food products, right? We do R&D for packaged food industry. So
Okay.
anything that you consume throughout your day, whether it's brushing your teeth or, well, you're too young for it, but if you're having a whiskey,
Yeah.
everything has flavors in it,
Yeah.
right? So that kind of shows you the gamut of flavors, right? So
Yeah.
it's just everywhere. So we create the taste molecules and the taste portion of the consumer products.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Stonefield, the first Indian company to have in-house R&D?
No. I mean, R&D. I think most people have R&D, right? But it's just so. Let me take a step back, right? What Stonefield is? It's not something that, like, it's basically flavor industry, right? People have been doing this for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
right? I mean, all people will say it's like a bucket and stick industry, right? You basically a bunch of different molecules and chemicals that you combine and make a flavor, right? So nature has already created all the molecules.
Yeah.
All the molecules are already out there in the in the nature, right? So what companies like ours do is we combine those molecules from the nature to come up with new concepts, right?
Okay.
So let's say you were to buy a biscuit from I don't know, Britannia, right? So the taste portion of that comes from somebody like us,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
So what we do differently is that we create concepts that are new to the world, right? So there's two portions of the business. One is creating flavors, which is molecules or the taste molecules. There's within that there's like two, three different right now there's like 6 different technologies that we have, right? So within this technology you have thousands of flavors, right? So that's one piece of the problem. Other one that we solve is for companies that want to create a new concept, right? So
Okay.
let's say you want to like Sting is something that most of like all the
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
are drinking these days, right? So like somebody says, okay, Sting is doing really well, so we'll probably make that into a jelly, right? Or we make that into like give it a completely different form factor,
Okay.
right? So we create the different concepts. So we come to a candy manufacturer and say, look, Sting is doing really well. Why don't you look at making a jelly or jelly bar or candy out of it, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we do different concepts, and that's kind of what gave birth to Shaka Harry, which which I'll tell you about in a bit.
Yeah.
in a bit.
We'll get into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, who are your few customers for Stonefield Flavors?
Yeah, it could be most CPG players, right? So you look at guys like Unibic, Olam, Unmol Biscuits, Bisque Farm,
Okay.
Britannia, ITC, uh, Kevin Cares, Collimark, basically some alcohol companies, the Cargill, some global players, some Indian players, across the board, right? So these are like applications from bakery to confectionery to beverages to ice creams. We do a lot of work in ice
Yeah.
creams.
Yeah.
Yeah. To like I said, alcoholic beverages, juices, even pet food, right? Animal feed.
So for like big players in the market, like Amul and all these people.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah. Can you walk us through the process of the flavor, like the development of the flavors?
Yeah.
Yeah. So flavor development is like an art and science, right? So
Okay.
so art is the part about like where your olfactory, your taste and your smell, everything comes together. And the science is the science, the chemistry behind it, which molecules work together, what.
Yeah.
So that's where we have our flavors who've been around Indian or the global industry for combination of 300 years. So our team is the core of what we do. The team is
Yeah.
very, very strong, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
these guys will create either it's a new concept or you may say that look, create this like for example, I'll give you an example. Somebody said, okay, no, there's a certain type of a lemon or called Gondaraj from East India, right?
Okay.
So we want this flavor, right? So our flavor is like, okay, I don't know what this is, right? So then the guy sends an actual lemon. So he's sitting there scratching it, sniffing it, eating, biting it, whatever he's doing. Like he's playing around with this
Yeah.
lemon,
Yeah.
right? He goes out, he sits in his room and just thinks about what this lemon is. So that's like the art piece of it. Then finally, when he's ready, he'll go to his lab. He'll start playing with the different chemicals, different aromas, different extracts. He'll try to mimic what nature has in the lab, right? So that process could take like an hour, or it can take 10 days, or it can take a month, right? That just really depends on the scientist who's working on it.
Yeah.
So then he'll work on that and he'll spend some time. And depending on the kind of client it is, or kind of the potential the project has, we'll decide, when it's ready to go.
Okay.
Right. So that's one process. I mean, the other one sometimes you do get from the industry that there are people say, well, this is great, but I want something very similar to this flavor, right? Then there's like analysis machines out there where you put this in the machine and it kind of spits out like a graph with peaks and valleys. But then again, that's another science part where it just gives you like a Richter scale, right? It just gives you a chart that shows you what it is. And there's other scientists who know how to read that and then decipher that into what works. So that's first step. Second step is now seeing if it actually works in the end application. So if you want to make a lemon flavored soda water.
Yeah.
So we have to create that, see if it actually works.
Yeah.
So it could be different applications, yeah.
Okay. So how much investment does this take?
In terms of time or money?
Money. Both, actually.
Yeah, so money is like it depends on the people, right? Like it's a very people intensive business, right? So how much will you pay for the best people in the market, right? So and in terms of infrastructure, yeah, there's the lab part of it that takes a significant investment, and then the second part is the factory, right? Where we create the actual product. Right.
Okay.
So you kind of get anchor yourself into the customer, right? So Coca-Cola is a great example, right? It's a flavor, right? And it's a recipe that makes sense, right? But can somebody else make that flavor? Yeah. I mean, yeah, people can, right? But the Coca-Cola spends most of their money on branding.
Yeah, distribution and branding.
So the way I look at food business, if anybody wants to get into food business, is like there's three parts of it, right? One is R&D and creation, right?
Yeah.
Other one is the manufacturing. Yeah.
Okay.
Third and the most difficult one is branding and distribution, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because manufacturing, yeah, there is some IP to it, but like I say, you're making something completely new, right? Like say we're making like Shaka nuggets, right? That's very different, right?
Okay, yeah.
But if you're making like somebody else is making beverage, you're making beverage. It's already been established, and everyone knows how to make beverage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to make some products?
Yeah. So recently we had this idea, but I had this idea of creating a beverage brand cater to non-alcoholic people. Let's just say you go to a party, right? And you
Yeah.
don't prefer to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
There'll be a really cool can with carbonated flavored water, slightly
Like seltzer.
flavored.
Like
Yeah, like seltzer. Like slightly watermelon orange flavor carbonated water in a really cool bottle.
Sure.
So that doesn't make you look dull.
Yeah, I mean that's a great idea actually, right? And I come by to the lab. I'll show you how to do it, right?
Yeah.
We
Love to see that.
We've done work with some company that does flavored seltzer, hard seltzer in India,
Okay.
right? So there's like 5-6%. So I think that's where the future is going, right? I don't know how you're gonna put this in your podcast, but like the future is going towards younger people drinking less alcohol, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to drink like very low alcohol,
Yeah,
right?
preference
Or
are
no
changing.
alcohol, right?
Yeah.
So then, I mean, so you got to have your one eye on the future as well. So that's another piece that we work on. So our marketing team, which is very strong, they're looking at trends, right? What's working in the market?
Okay.
What do we think the new thing is going to be? So the way we look at problems is like, okay, is there something that's new to India or new to the world? Right, you don't have to look at just what's new to India, right? Like for example, prime water is something you guys are all going
Prime,
crazy,
yeah.
right? It's nuts, right? I don't get it, right?
That's branding.
It's branding.
branding,
Right?
yeah.
It's branding. It's like YouTube star going out there and talking about
Exactly,
some
yeah.
water, right?
Yeah.
People don't get it, but that's branding, right? Can I make the same prime water? 100%, right? But can I sell it? No, because I don't have that whatever prime they bottled up some flavored water with some electrolytes in it,
Yeah.
and then it's just regular product.
It's just like, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's a branding. So branding is very difficult, right? And that's where we're trying to solve through the other company, right?
Okay.
But yeah, man. I mean, like the entrepreneurship and yeah, all the best to you, man. Do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what role will artificial intelligence play in the future in the flavor development industry?
All right, great question, right? So I think artificial intelligence is everywhere, right? I mean, like everything is going to be. There's a lot of people who say, okay, you know what, there's pros and cons of it,
Yeah.
right? I think artificial intelligence is like, and I read this somewhere recently, right? It's like having Einstein in your basement and not using him, right? I think
Yeah.
Einstein is quite smart guy, like
Yeah.
so everyone should be using him, right? So is artificial intelligence gonna replace us? No, way, right?
Yeah.
But it's gonna get you halfway. It's gonna do half your work, and then you start from there. So what I just explained to you with the GC machine that does like analysis on it.
Yeah.
That's also you're getting help from a machine that
yeah.
deciphers what molecules are in there, right? So if a computer is kind of helping me understand how to make a flavor, it only gets me to a certain degree, right? So I'll give you an example. So imagine, so like in our library we have 5,000 flavors, right? Let's say we have
Okay.
100 flavors that are of strawberry flavors, 100 different strawberry flavors, right? And each strawberry is different, right? There could be fresh cut strawberry, there could
Yeah.
be a jammy strawberry, there could be a ripe strawberry, there could
Yeah.
be 100 different strawberries out there, right? So you put that through an AI, you the formula is there, the attributes are there, and you ask the your artificial intelligence or your computer to create 101.
Okay.
Can I do that? 100%, right? I
Yeah.
mean, looking at, it's just regression, right? So
Yeah.
you can create it. But now imagine you have not 100, you have 100,000
Yeah.
recipes of a strawberry.
Mm-hmm.
Can, by looking at that data, create one more? For sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And why not, right? We should be looking at that, right?
Okay.
And is it going to be good? I don't know, right? But will it make the job easier for the flavorist? For sure, right?
Okay.
He'll start somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
which otherwise it would have taken him like long time to get to that point. He can start off at the point and then really do the last bit, which is the art part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like one example, but there's numerous ways you can use artificial intelligence in our business, and I hope a lot of companies do, and we're looking at it, right? And how do we kind of, but I think for that to do that, you have to have a good database, and I coming from the data background, math background. And I'm proud of one thing that we did from the beginning is we set up our data tables very well.
Okay.
So we got a ton of data that we've gathered over the last 6 years, and now we build models on it and see how do we predict a lot of different things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are you implementing AI in Stonefield Flavors, or?
In a very small way, right? I mean, we're doing it for processes and procedures. But what I just explained to you yet,
Yeah.
we haven't started that yet.
Okay.
But that's something that's on the
List to do list.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but we have other battles to fight to get to that. But we are doing a lot of stuff around, just in a smaller way to build certain
Okay.
processes and procedures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Shakahari. Finally, I'm like really excited about this. We actually got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't tried this before. Neither has he.
All right.
Just waiting for the opportunity to try it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what motivated you to create this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have some yourself.
Yeah, for sure. It's good. I mean, it's
amazing.
a little cold, but
It's cool,
Yeah.
yeah, but
yeah.
taste like chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah.
So, my life is this series of serendipitous moments, right? Right place, right time. Something comes up, I'm like, okay, why not?
Yeah.
Right? That's how Stonefield started. That's how Shaka started. That's how my move to India started, right? I mean, and then there was two or three things between that,
Yeah.
right? So it's all been like, okay, why not, right? So you jump and you figure it out on the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's what entrepreneurship is all about, right? Kind of living in the unknown and figuring out how to
Manage.
Navigate through this,
through it, right? So this was actually an interesting point. We were all stuck at home in COVID, and a friend of mine, Anand Nagarajan, he called me one day and said, "Look, do you know anything about plant-based meat?" Like, yeah, dude, I've heard of it. I mean, I know there's Beyond and Impossible, but we'll see, right? I mean, why? What do you want to do? He's like, I think we should meet and discuss this further. So we met up. I mean, he knew that I was in food tech. So he's like, let's meet. We met, and then a week later we had a company up, and and then we figured out everything else after that. Right?
Okay.
Okay, that's
So
fast.
I mean, it was just like a phone call from Anand that I started this whole thing, right? And he had basically eaten this in an event in San Francisco a few years earlier to that, and he's a hardcore Tam Bram vegetarian. So he had a lot of passion towards this, and he was just trying to solve that problem for himself.
Okay.
Right. That's how I started. And I had the tech with me because I have a Dutch partner who's an equity partner into Stonefield. They have some technologies, we have some technologies. So I said, okay, well, let's see if we can build this out together.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of really, I wish it was a cooler story, but I mean,
Yeah.
really it's just like being in the right place, right time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if I told you, I was thinking about like saving chickens since I was a little kid. Yeah, no, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you sign MS Dhoni as brand ambassador?
How? Okay, well, how and why? I mean, that's actually a good question. Uh, and a lot of back and forth happened there, right? We got a hold of him somehow, right? Through one of our contacts in Bangalore, and then we went back and forth like, okay, what, are we doing this too early? Are we ready for this? Is he the right guy? We know that when you're building a new category, you need to have something that brings you eyeballs.
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
But I mean, it's not the person. Dhoni is not going to make your nuggets taste better. If your
Yeah.
nuggets suck, they suck, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, I'm just using nuggets as an example. I mean, we have
A lot, yeah.
25 other
Yeah.
products, but like if they suck, right? So you have to have good product, and you have to have like good infrastructure. You have to have everything else have to work really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dhoni is like the guy who kind of puts Sure on the map,
Yeah.
right? So once we had that, and we said, look, we have a product, we have the best product in the market, right? And we just need somebody to amplify that and help us get the word out.
Okay.
And and Dhoni was, we sent him the product. He liked the product. He loved the product. He said, look, he gets it.
Yeah.
Very smart guy who knew more about the business than most people I've spoken to.
Okay.
I sat down with him, and also I personally didn't have that kind of like fanboy moment because cricket is kind of like
Yeah.
cricket, right? So for me, if I met like Michael Jordan or Kobe or something, I'd like be like just
Yeah,
But
amazed.
then
Yeah.
but he's a just normal guy, smart guy. You can talk to him about anything, and he got the product immediately, right? So
Okay.
so we felt that he was the right guy to be with us because he has conviction, right? And I think conviction is very important in anything you do, right? You have to have conviction that you'll make it work, right? And once you have that conviction and your gut tells you that this works, yeah. And only you just try things out, right? I mean, what else? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll fail. So what? You know? And there's only two ways. Our gut said go ahead with it, and we went ahead, and we have this mental thing on, and then I have this mental thing when every time some door opens for us, somebody calls us up because of Dhoni or something happens.
Yeah.
We kind of have this check mark. We just have this running tally in our head. Aha,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's good that we have him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
So how is this plant-based meat made?
plant-based meat is basically so it's made out of vegetables, right? So it
Okay.
could be like soy, mushrooms, pea protein, rice protein. There's different kind of proteins, right? So first thing is you got to take vegetables and make them not taste like vegetables,
Okay.
right? So that's where some of our magic comes in, right? So you mask certain flavors and parts of the vegetable.
Yeah.
Because these are like high protein vegetables,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So then you got to make it taste the way you want it to taste. You
Yeah.
can make it taste like masala, Maggi masala, tomato. You can make it taste like marinara, whatever it is. Then you bring that in. So it's just a reconstitution of different materials to kind of make it taste like that, and it's just
Okay.
as simple as that.
Is the nutrition value the same as a real meat?
Yeah, sometimes even more, right? Because then you can actually bring in like some of the supplements, right? You can even
Yeah.
bring in like something like B12 vitamins or just omegas. You can bring in a lot more of that
Okay.
things that are missing in the real meat.
Okay.
So look, our job is not to tell people not to eat meat.
Yeah.
And I think anything that's finite, right? We only got one Earth, right?
Yeah.
You have a certain amount of land and resources and water, right?
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to run out unless you go find another Earth somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're just basically saying that, hey, like, we don't want to be preachy about it. We don't want to say, hey, you should go and stop eating meat.
Yeah.
No, no way. You can do whatever you want. But I think if everyone does a little bit of their part,
Yeah.
then collectively, you're basically looking ahead to a more sustainable future.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and even plants, right? I mean, you only have a certain amount of area to grow plants eventually, right? Right now, you're growing more plants to feed the animals, so you can eat the animals, than plants to feed the humans.
Yeah.
So like, and we're not preachy, man. We don't want to be like, we're just saying it's a fun brand. Have fun with it. It's a great tasting product. Eat this, but that instead of that.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have to do it every day, right?
Yeah.
You can. There's different occasions, and sometimes, like, especially our Indian households, you have, one person who's vegetarian, or and then sometimes father's vegetarian, mother's eating meat, and then what you have this conflict. What are we gonna do? Like, you can
Yeah.
make something
It
that
happens in my house.
in your house. Yeah. So then you can eat this, right? And everyone can enjoy it. So, or sometimes the kids suffer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in a vegetarian household, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that Punjabis are very big meat eaters. My mom's never had meat. My dad, he gave up after a while. But I think you can't tell people what to do. My parents never told me not to eat meat. They said, you do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
But be mindful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think this is gonna be a new culinary experience?
I mean, yes, it's not going to be. It's going to be a new culinary experience, but it's really not that much different from the existing culinary experiences, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the goal.
it's we're not trying to compete with meat. We're just saying, this is another, it's a great tasting product. Let me ask you this, right? So, I have two kids, 4 and 2. They don't know what a chicken looks like. I mean, in pictures they know what a chicken looks like, right?
Yeah.
But they know they probably have seen chickens, right? But they don't know that you're killing that chicken to eat the chicken,
Yeah.
right? But they just know a chicken nugget tastes like, right? Or, even like if you look at a ham or pork, we don't call it pig. We call it all these other things, but pig, right?
Yeah.
So you eat that, you know what that taste seems like, right?
Okay.
You're eating a product, and most of the times you're not thinking about that chicken or the animal that came from. You just like the taste of it,
Yeah.
right? So think of it like on the taste. Don't think of it as like as long as you're getting a good product. Like if you're eating a biryani, you have a reference made of chicken biryani.
Yeah.
Now my 2-year-old son doesn't know what chicken biryani is. If he only grows up with Shakahari biryani, that's his reference point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
He doesn't know what chicken biryani is. He knows
Yeah.
what a biryani is, right? Eventually, you'll get to a point where you'll have both things, but because and you'll probably, this will be cheaper. That'll be more expensive.
Yeah.
The way organic food is.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you establish yourself in the FMCG business?
In Shakahari or
Yeah.
in Stonefield?
Both. Actually.
So for Stonefield is a little different because it's B2B,
Yeah.
right? And I think what helped there was like just having the right people with us, right?
Okay.
So when I said we had 300 years of experience, a lot of those people been around the block, and they carry a lot of like relationships. So
Yeah.
you basically go out there and try to, sell what you have, and don't try to be a Me Too player, right?
Yeah.
You got to be unique. You got to do something different,
Yeah.
right? So our differentiation was that there are many tier 2, tier 3 companies that are owner-led companies that are basically one man show who's same guy as R&D head, same guy as a factory manager, same guy as a general manager. So that guy is making biscuits, but do we help him out to make better biscuits, make him look like a hero, right? So he goes to his MD, says, "Look, I created this range of 10 new biscuits. What do you think?"
Okay.
Right? Then that's where the conviction comes, right? You start working, you go to the people who don't have the massive budgets to our R&D team, but they have the sales. They're all like 2,000 crore plus companies.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, there are India is so diverse, man. There's so many different like pockets, so many different tastes. So you look at it. The only thing you should look at is am I solving a problem, right? Am I solving somebody else's problem? Am I giving him a solution? Once you start giving solutions instead of giving product,
Yeah.
things starts working.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So you co-founded this company, like you said before. You co-founded this company with Anand Nagarajan.
Yeah.
How important was it having a co-founder?
Oh, extremely, extremely. I mean, entrepreneurship is very lonely, right? Which
Yeah.
you would have heard before, right? And I mean, this is Anand's baby. I'm running full time Stonefield, right?
Okay.
You can't be in two places,
At the
right?
same time.
At the same time, and I mean, put your feet in two different boats, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One here, one there. You're gonna
Gonna
drown.
sink, yeah. Right.
So I think that it's very important to have the understanding of like co-founder who's on the same wavelength as you are, and you got to make sure your co-founder and you have this open communication where you're able to express yourself, right? And there can only be one king, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be clear on that, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times things don't work out because people miss out on who's doing what,
Who's doing what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. and and you should work with the end goal, not like what's going to happen until you get there, right?
Yeah.
If your end is very clear, right, then you'll work
Start
with each other.
working
It's like a
backwards.
marriage,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's just like a marriage.
Yeah.
You gotta say, okay, well, I'm gonna make this work, right?
Yeah.
And there'll be times when you disagree with each other, and you respect each other. You have two opinions instead of one. You get one can be a bad guy, other can be a good guy sometimes, and you play different roles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's very important. I think it's very nice to have a co-founder who understands you, and if you're complementary to each other, that's the best.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect match. Yeah.
So how do you see the future of plant-based meat in India?
Indian cuisine is actually plant-based, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, right?
That's
We like created plant-based cuisine,
Yeah.
right? And somewhere in the middle, we started like mimicking the other stuff, right? Whether it's like meat or trying to be like West, right? So Indian food is pretty much plant-based, right? I mean, only thing that I think is really deep rooted into our culture is milk, right? Because the cultural and the religious significance of cow, right? So I think there are enough studies and enough things that are out there where like that dairy is actually not the best for you, right? So so I think that's more of a longer term fix, but I think there's enough people moving towards all dairy, right? There are people who are looking at plant-based. It's not just plant-based meat; it's plant protein.
Yeah, plant
Right?
proteins also.
We are a protein deficient country.
That's true. Yeah.
We're a protein deficient country, right? So don't look at it as plant-based meat.
Meat. Okay.
Look at it as a plant protein,
Yeah.
right? And that's what we're trying to solve.
But the question is it the most optimal source of protein?
What else is there? I mean, you're looking at other ones animal derived, right?
And
it's true.
supplements.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see plant-based protein surpassing the meat protein? Like the demand for it in India?
definitely. I think India.
I think eventually you'll probably have in a big enough market where you'll have plant-based protein. I think you have to make it tastier, and there's a lot of media out there. You can see a lot of the things. People think that you need to have meat to really get protein, right? But then there's protein sources all around you, right? You got a lot of your dals and your lentils and your garbanzo beans. A lot of things already have protein in it,
Yeah.
right? So it's just about being mindful and again, I'm not saying like you don't do this or that. I mean, I'm saying you can build on it, right? You can if you're eating meat, then you can maybe use this as well. Or if you're vegetarian, see if you're getting enough protein, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Where's your protein intake coming from, right? And I think that protein deficiency is a problem that we need to fix.
Okay.
Okay.
So apart from the food and flavoring industry,
Yeah.
you're also into real estate. What initially got you into the real estate world?
Yeah, so that was during going back into the Chai Point days, right? So when I landed up in Bangalore, I ended up like working with Chai Point. At that point, they just had a bunch of like smart guys on the table. None of them knew anything about food business or chai, right?
Okay.
They're like engineers or like
Yeah.
McKinsey,
Yeah.
Bain guys,
Yeah.
finance guys just trying to make chai, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of guys who were just sitting on the table like trying to make chai. But then so that was my first like really like job in India to kind of understand what is it like to do business in India, because I didn't want to like start anything without like really knowing what I'm doing, and I learned what not to do. Right? Everyone says "ho jayega," but nothing ever gets done. Right?
Yeah.
So there was a very different, it was like a crash course. Right? So
Yeah.
I did that for a year. Then I met a friend of mine who had also come back from the U.S. From Chicago. He was, he's more local. He can actually sit down and talk to the local guys in their,
Yeah.
I don't look like a typical
Yeah.
real estate guy, right? So he can do that, right? So we said, okay, you know what do we complement each other, right? So there's things that he had, there's things that I had, so we can tell the story better. Started doing real estate. So we did about 1 million square foot in this Sarjapur belt, right?
Okay.
I think the problem is that since anybody can do it, right? There's
Yeah.
like this thing is like, oh, real estate. Okay, there's another real estate guy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even tell people that I did real estate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, real estate, because it's got this like really bad press, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So I just wanted to do something a little different. So I'm more of an investor in real estate now. I'm not doing real estate full time, right? I've become a real estate investor, right?
Okay.
Which kind of fits more in line with what I want to do for the future. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So all the projects you have invested in so far in Inner Space, they all are uniquely designed buildings.
Yeah.
So what inspired Inner Space to design unique buildings only? Like as far as I've seen, none of the projects are, like ordinary building design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought-
Yeah, that's a good question again. So coming back or coming to India, you kind of see a lot of people will start thinking about returning back, right? So like anything and everything I want to do is I think of like aspirational, right? People should aspire to live in your homes, right?
Okay.
So we wanted to make aspirational living, right? We wanted to create homes that are aspirational but affordable, right?
Yeah.
So that you can't build a 10 crore home, but like not many people will buy it from you, right?
Yeah.
So you want, and that's also like it's inside, like nothing against our Jaipur area, but it's the suburbs, right? That's how I would explain it to people back home in the U.S., right? I'm building in the suburbs, right? If you're in the city center, you can charge that extra premium, but
Yeah.
here's it was, especially back then, it was difficult, right? So you gotta really know your audience. You gotta build for the right people. You gotta build for people, right? So when you say they're all different, yeah, they're even if you're building a 2-bedroom home, it should still be aspirational,
Yeah.
right? Give somebody who's starting out the starter home for them. They should really say like, be proud of going to their
Yeah.
home. There people will buy it as they're like, more like, the kids are going to college or their kids are in
Yeah.
high school. They want to basically make that their forever home. So I think if, as long as you understand the customer, right, then you tailor it to them, right? And you got to stay true to one thing that, don't cut. There's no easy way to make money,
Yeah.
right? There's no easy way unless you're doing something illegal, right?
Yeah.
So just have patience. And if I can tell you one thing that's most important is having patience.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wish somebody would have told me that at your age, that patience is something that, because as you guys are growing old, you're younger and you want to change the world, but you'll realize that change takes time,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So same thing with whether you're doing real estate or you're doing Flavours or you're doing co-working, which I did, was for about 3 years before COVID killed it, right? It all takes it all takes time, yeah. And as human beings, we talk a lot more about our things that work than the ones that didn't work.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to fall. You'll fall on your face, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how do you build your patience?
yeah. Easier said than done, right? Yeah, yeah. You got to keep working at it, man. You got to keep telling yourself, like, that this is, you have to be so mindful, right? You want things done yesterday, but nothing gets done,
Yeah.
especially in the kind of environment we're in, which is,
Yeah.
a growing country. Things are broken, inefficiencies, and
Yeah.
you just have to say that, no matter what you do, things are going to take their time, right?
Yeah.
So you control the input. You control the input, right? You don't. I mean, you said I did the best I can. Now I don't control the output, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times you'll be going for an exam, right? You do the best you can, right? And then then at the end, like whatever the result is, that's the result,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this English teacher, Miss De Leon, right? And I really enjoyed that class, but I got a B in it, right? But I didn't really care, right?
Yeah.
I control the input. I just say, okay, you know what? I enjoyed the class. I learned a lot. I remember her name till all these years later,
Yeah.
right? But it's because I just enjoyed what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And the grade came. I mean, even though it was a B, I was still happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was still very happy with it.
So across all your ventures, what's the most innovative project you've worked on?
Wow. I think I'm still working on the innovative projects. Yeah, I don't think there's something called most innovative, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think, shit, man. When I was in high school, senior in high school, I did door to door knives. I sold knives door to door. I think that was pretty innovative.
Okay.
I would go to people's house and I have these knife set. I still think they're the best knives in the world.
Okay.
So I would do this trick. I would pull out this scissors and say, "Give me a penny." I would cut the penny in half.
Okay.
I mean, that was innovative for me.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, there's so many things I've done in my life, but in terms of innovation, I think there's still a
Yeah.
lot more to come. Yeah.
So is there any project or any venture that you want to start, but it seems really, really difficult, even on your standards? Like a dream project or something?
Oh, so I have a lot of dream projects, but like I think
Okay.
they're also like one of those like retirement projects, right?
Okay.
But there's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, which I think we will see when and how we can do it, right? So again, it kind of comes back to sustainability and the way you're able to make certain molecules is more of a biotech play,
Yeah.
right? So if you look at some of the flavors and ingredients, people are making with precision fermentation. So I think there's a way to make flavor molecules in bioreactors, right?
Okay.
So if you're able to make certain ingredients for the pharma industry, I think you should be able to make that in the flavor industry as well. But the thing is, you need those ingredients or those molecules need to be expensive enough that you're actually doing something which is going to be different
Okay.
and cheaper.
So what's holding you back on doing this?
Time.
Okay.
Yeah. I got 2 kids, 2 startups, and traveling all the time. A wife I don't see enough of. So I think time. So I think for now I'm pretty if and when. I mean, I just have an eye on it. We'll see how it works out. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move away from the topic of
Sure.
business and entrepreneurship for a while.
Sure.
How does a day in your life look like?
Oh wow, day in my life. Yeah. Lately, it's been a lot of airports, right? But typical day would be, I like to go to the gym in the morning, but lately it's just been kind of on and off, right? I wake up quite early. Wake up around 5:30.
Yeah.
Just have some alone time, then get to the gym,
Okay.
come back, spend some time with my kids, right?
Okay.
Head to work. I'm working throughout the way, and just really, there's no like one real day. Like you get to see different problems. I mean, I love that fact that I see different problems every day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the problems should change. If I see the same problem every day, I've done something extremely wrong, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, usually I'm trying to like, if I have meetings in the city, I go back and forth from Jigni to the city, or Shaka area office is in Indiranagar. So I sometimes spend some time in Jigni. Sometimes I go there,
Okay.
or I just juggle a lot of time and spend a lot of time in the car and on the phone. I'm pretty hands off. I have a really good team, right? So they take care of most things,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So I think it helps to have a very good team, right? So, and I think that's one of the things that I pride myself on is like having really smart people around me. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah.
So, so that really helps.
So I wanted to ask you this. What makes your heart sing?
What makes my heart sink?
Yeah.
Sing.
Sing.
Sing, yeah. I assume that means what do I like living? What do I like
Yeah.
doing?
Like what are
Right?
you
So
passionate about?
yeah, I love outdoors, man. I love like climbing. Last year I climbed Kilimanjaro. Right, so
Okay.
that was a lot of fun. So if I had more time, I'd do more time. I spend more time on the mountains. I really feel like a lot of like myself when I'm outside in the wilderness,
Yeah.
right? So I really enjoy like just being outdoors,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hiking, climbing, mountaineering, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of sports, right? So
Yeah.
I love like watching sports, love playing sports, and anything that's like competitive activity.
Okay, basketball is your sports.
Yeah, I like basketball. That's why I brought this book for you guys. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the book.
Yeah, so you asked me a question, right? You said,
Yeah. What is that one book that
yeah.
is
So, so I was talking to my wife. I'm like, I read your questions. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm like, you got to see this question.
Yeah.
She's like, what is it? I'm like, these guys asked me what book inspires me,
Yeah.
and she just started laughing. Right? I can't read books, guys. I cannot read books, right? I started reading a book, right? But I can't finish books. It's the problem I have.
Yeah.
So I read a lot of articles. I listen to like a bunch of like parts of podcast or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? But I can't read books, right?
Okay.
So there's one book that's really inspired me. It's a guy named John Wooden. This is the guy. You can look at it, right?
Yeah.
So this is he's a basketball coach,
Okay.
at my alma mater, UCLA, and so John Wooden is so I like looking at biographies, right? So
Yeah.
if I could pick one type of books, and I give the credit to my dad, right? So when I was very young, he said, look, you want to read books, read biographies, right? So I think you get to listen to other people's journey. You get to read their journeys and how they got to where they got and the details, right? Like
Yeah.
where do they come from? What are their journey like? I think we all have different journeys, right? So there's a lot of times like there's books about like self-help books or be a better entrepreneur,
Yeah.
this and that. I'm like it's really doesn't really speak. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of gyan in it, right?
Yeah.
Right, but I'm like, okay, but I'm the kind of person who likes to do things, break things, and learn on my own. I learn better like that, right? Rather than like, if I read a book and I'm like, okay, great, but now how do I apply that to my life?
Yeah.
It's very difficult for me to do that. So I like this guy John Wooden because he's the only guy in the history of basketball to win 10 championships in 11 years,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And he did that in college with different players, right? But if you read his books and read his life, he says like, you don't teach people how to play basketball. You teach people how to live life.
Okay.
Right? If I could recommend one book, I said read this one or any of the books about his life, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's really changed the way I look at life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something I want to show you guys,
Yeah.
right? I made a mark of that on the way here. So there's like some things he says, right? Like I'll just read it to you. So he says, discipline yourself and the others won't have to.
Okay.
Respect every opponent, but fear none. The best way to improve your team is to improve yourself.
Okay.
Do not mistake activity for achievement.
Okay.
It's amazing how much we can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
You can do a lot when you don't look at who's the hero,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? time spent getting even would be better spent getting ahead. A lot of times you're trying to catch up with somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work on yourself, you know. So there's something you guys can probably look at, which is called the pyramid of success. This is something that he created, which I think is like basically like, and I have it on my desk, you know, and you guys should check it out. Yeah, this is the thing, pyramid of success. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just.
I mean, you read through it, it kind of tells you life, man.
Okay, we'll go through this later
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So this is a book that I would recommend. Again, not the book, but the person, right? So
Definitely.
sure.
So, coming to a close on this podcast,
Yeah.
could you provide a parting note to aspiring entrepreneurs watching this podcast?
Yeah. I hope people watch this podcast, man.
Yeah, I mean, we have a good one, yes.
I'm glad. Really, if I could just tell you one thing, it's really there's no really like set rule. You know, I can't tell you go do this,
Yeah.
right, and things will work out. There's no such thing, right? Just look at my life, right? Like I grew up in a small village, and
Yeah.
and I went and lived in one of the biggest cities in the world,
Yeah.
and then had the life that I thought I wanted,
Yeah.
and then ended up back somewhere which I never thought. I mean, I never even knew where Bangalore was, right? I mean, I never
Yeah.
thought about Bangalore, you know.
Yeah.
So life kind of works out on its own. Right? You don't give yourself like too much. You don't have a lot of things are not in control. Go with the flow. So if I had to tell you one thing, go with the flow. Make mistakes, right? If there's an opportunity that comes your way, you know, give it a shot. Right? Don't think that it's gonna come back, right?
Okay.
And the most important thing that I think I'm proud of is don't live your life in regret,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't regret anything I did. I mean, I've done some stupid shit, right?
Yeah.
But I don't regret it because I made the best decision at that point with the information that I had,
Yeah.
Okay.
right? And I mean, I would have failed miserably, but at least I got a good story to tell about it.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, just don't sweat the small stuff. Just go with the flow, and you'll be all right. I mean, I mean, entrepreneurship is about just getting up and doing it. Don't be
Yeah.
complacent. Yeah?
Yeah.
Don't be complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Complacency is the worst.
Yeah.
Don't be complacent.
It's been a pleasure hosting you
Yeah.
on our podcast. We have learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I hope aspiring entrepreneurs watching this must have also learned a lot.
Yeah.
I really respect how across all your ventures you are like the role model for the industry. You're leading the industry.
Standing out, yeah.
Standing out.
I don't know. I think you just I appreciate that you guys saying that.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Right. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep Devgan. It was great hosting you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys.
much. Yeah.
And all the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Good stuff, guys.